The next thing I want to show you, I pointed out that when I put that stake in the ground, I made my attachment point down at the ground. All right, this is one of the biggest sins that I see as I travel around the country. When I travel to these events, I generally, east of the Mississippi, I drive. And when I drive, a 4-hour trip usually takes me about 6 or 7 hours, because if I see a tent, I'm off the highway. And I'm looking at things and I'm taking pictures. So if any of you guys got tents up between here and Wisconsin, I hope you did it right, or you're gonna be in my bad list, all right? And I'll have pictures to document it. But I see this all the time, and I understand this. I've been in the field for 30 years. I understand 80 degrees, 80% humidity, the whacker's broke and you're doing it with a sledgehammer. And you get them halfway in and that's good enough, let's move on. Or you're a smoker like me and you get them a quarter of the way in and you're, all right? I understand this. It doesn't make it right. You have to drive these stakes all the way into the ground. There's no point in having a 36-inch or 40-inch stake and only using 18 inches of it. The second problem that I have here with this is people that tie their knots off at the top. All that does is create what's called a long moment arm. And basically what that is if my arm was the stake and you try and push my hand here, I have less resistance than if you try and push it here. I can hold back at my elbow much easier than I can at the top of my hand. So the higher up you go, the less holding power you're gonna have. Not to mention the fact that you're gonna have a bin full of bent stakes when you get done, okay? What you're gonna see when I pull this, the initial failure is basically gonna be due to the bending of the steel, because we'll move this probably about that far before it actually fails at the ground, and then it'll fail at the ground, and then it'll fail totally. So let's go ahead. Did we reset this?
Yep.
Okay, let's go ahead and pull this slowly, please. And you guys watching the end, you can see, stop there. You can see we bent that in probably that far with only 200 pounds of force. Now, it should have held at least as good as that, because it's the same diameter, right? We're at less than half of that holding power, just because of the fact that we tied off at the top instead of tying off at the bottom. Go ahead and pull it forward a little bit more. You can see we're just starting to plow the earth now, but we've moved this how far? 6 inches, 7 inches? Can you imagine 7 inches of slop in your tie down? How loose would your tent be? Extremely loose. And then what happens is Mother Nature over here decides to go, ha ha, and starts blowing and blowing and blowing. And what's gonna happen is that stake guy is gonna jerk and jerk and jerk, and this is exactly what's gonna happen. The stake's gonna pull out of the ground. What'd you have?
400.
Okay, so we went from 200 initial failure to 400 pounds total failure, all right, on a stake that should have at least held the same as that. Only because we got lazy or tired, and only because we got either lazy or misinformed on how to tie our knots off. Please remember, all attachment points all the way down to the ground, okay? The IFAI study has defined all the way to the ground as 1 to 2 inches above the ground. Okay, so if you're still using rope and you're using a rolling hitch or a slip knot, and your procedure is to push that knot down to get the last bit of tightness, if you can't hit the ground, you're good. 1 to 2 inches above the ground, same as in the ground. Same stake, same 80-degree day, same 80% humidity, same tired guy with a sledgehammer. But this time I'm gonna tie the knot all the way down to the ground, and you'll see a significant difference. Go ahead. And hold it there.
On your side.
I got about 450 pounds. So I've gained 225 pounds of holding power just by sliding that knot down to the ground on a stake that's not been installed correctly. All right, go ahead and pull that all the way up. And we're tickling around 600, okay? So just the simple fact, tie your knots, attach your web guys, touch the ground, okay? And it will ultimately increase the holding power of your stakes.